Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. My name is Kelly McCormick, and I've been coordinating webinars all summer for our students, our alumni, and the local community to stay connected virtually. We do have a few more webinars coming up this August, and we'll be offering other kinds of virtual events this fall, so I hope you all stay tuned. It's my pleasure to kick this webinar off with an introduction of our moderator, Antonio Bell. Antonio is part of the graduating class from this spring, and without even taking a breather, he started his master's in accounting, and will soon join this esteemed panel of alum when he is finished with his degree. Antonio is concentrating in forensic accounting, and his face lights up every time he talks about the opportunity to work for the FBI. As our panelists know, this accounting program is highly connected with the FBI and other esteemed employers, and the FBI does in fact do a direct hire with our students every year. Antonio, I am so glad that you were in the right place, and on that note, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you for that, Kelly. I just want to thank everybody for coming in today, and I'm going to give a brief introduction to our panelists today. First, we have Kiara De Jesus. Kiara is an alumni from FAU School of Accounting Executive Program who graduated in May of 2018. With a master's in forensics accounting, Kiara learned about the SOAEP program through a student at the time she met at Starbucks one evening while studying. With the help of FAU's own Denise, Kiara prepared her resume as well as advanced her interview skills and received an internship following a full-time job offer from Ernst & Young Forensics Practice in Miami. As a forensics accountant at EY, Kiara had the opportunity to apply all the skills she learned from the SOAEP, as well as had real hands-on experience on the matters relating to financial statement fraud, anti-money laundering, third-party vendor audits, fraud, corrupt practice act, and anti-bribery and anti-corruption, litigation, risk compliance assessment, etc. Additionally, Kiara is a certified fraud examiner and is extremely grateful for the professors and faculty members of the program who made her decision to switch to FAU worthwhile. One of our next panelists that we have today is Kate Baida. Kate is a tax senior from PwC and is a CPA. She earned her bachelor's in accounting from FIU and a master's in tax at FAU, and currently Kate works at a federal tax group and spent some time in the state and local groups. She also did a rotation in India last year and has been with PwC for 4 years. Djemson Lormistois works as an investigator for the Office of Inspector General in Palm Beach County. He graduated from the University of Pankville in 2014 with a bachelor's in accounting and management. Jensen is enrolled in FAU in 2017 and earned his master's of forensics accounting in the summer of 2019. When he is not spending time with his family, Jensen enjoys being outdoors, playing sports, soccer, and basketball. Daniel Carvenberg. Daniel is a seasoned business strategies professional with experience in business valuations, business development, client relations, account management, and consulting. He holds a master's in business administration, a master's in international management, intercultural communications, and a master's in accounting with a focus in business evaluation. He is currently the manager and partner of a physician advisory association solutions, which provides advisory services for physician practices and healthcare services with express goals of increasing efficiency, profitability, and he also works to start up as a mentor with the venture mentor team. He has a lot of master's degrees. Christina, I'm trying to do this right. Christina Irizarry-Amoruso is a certified fraud examiner who started her own accounting and bookkeeping business in July 2017, and she specializes in constructing accounting and investigating constructions and bookkeeping fraud. Christina teaches local business owners the warning signs associated in in-house bookkeeper fraud and how to mitigate their risk of being defrauded. That is our panelist for today. Just a little bit of introduction about myself. My name is Antonio Bell. I was a transfer student here at Florida Atlantic University in the fall of 2017. I've been involved in the numerous organizations on campus. And like she said, I literally started my master's program 6 days after I graduated undergrad. Something that a lot of people don't think is smart, but I just want to go ahead. I'm really passionate about the world of fraud examination. So, yeah. So we're going to start off by just interviewing our panelists and giving a few questions, just to get to know them a little bit better and just to, just dive into their world of what it is, what they do from their day to day. All right. So our first question is, I'm going to be addressing this question to Jensen. When did you get your degree and how long did it take? What was your chosen concentration? And how did you earn your advanced, and how in earning your advanced degree aligned with your career goals? Would you consider yourself an accomplished individual, or do you feel like you still have a little bit more to go?
Hi everybody. My name is Djemson, but to answer your question, I got my degree in forensic accounting in the summer of 2019. I started the program in the fall of 2017. I chose forensic accounting at the time because I wanted to go in a different direction with my career. I was working as an accountant, but I do have an interest in the investigative field. That's why I chose forensic accounting. I knew that was going to open a new set of doors for me, and it definitely did. I've been working as an investigator for almost a year now, so I'm just getting my feet wet in the profession. So I'm hoping I can keep getting experience and keep growing in the field.
Daniel, I actually have a question for you. Why did you choose to pursue your career? And do you feel like you're finished yet?
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Kvarnberg. So I decided to choose my going through and actually doing this program because I already had my MBA and the Master's in Intercultural Communication, but I felt like I hadn't become specialized. I feel like with those, even though it's Master's and everything, it was very broad. Whereas, and with this helped me specialize in valuation and accounting, and which really opened a lot of doors for me. And I'm always continuing to learn and still doing that with my own career. But it definitely set me on the right path. The minute I finished, it was job offers and calls were coming in pretty quickly, which was really nice.
Okay, that's good. Would any of the other panelists like to speak on this question? All good? Okay. I'll move on to question number 2. Okay. This question is for, I'm going to go with Jensen again. What made an online accounting program right for you? Did you have to balance your work and professional life when obtaining your online degree? Did you have family responsibilities that you had to manage, while pursuing your degree? And what tips and tactics do you suggest for our viewers considering going back to school while keeping a full-time job?
Of course. In 2017, I had just gotten married. As I said, I started the program in the fall of 2017, and I was also working full-time as a staff accountant. For me, choosing a school, I wanted to do something that was strictly online, and FAU did offer me that opportunity to do the program online. As far as tips, I think once you accepted into the program, you're to provide a study plan of how you're going to study for the classes. But ultimately, you would have to choose what works for you. But for me, I literally had to set a schedule to where Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, they were just set for schoolwork. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, I could do all the activities, but that's what I had to go by in order for me to succeed on the online program.
Okay. And Daniel, you want to shine some light into your situation for that one as well?
Sure. So I started my program back in 2014. At the time, I had been working for Citrix doing strategy for them for North and South America. So, I was working a lot of hours, and, it was one of those things where the program was perfect for me because I could either go into the classroom on Saturdays and actually be live, or I could record it and watch it when I wanted, which was great because what I would literally do is I would stay at work after, everyone left, watch the videos, do my studying. Sometimes I wouldn't leave till 11 or 12 o'clock at night just because it gave me a quiet place to work away from, the craziness of my being around my fiance at the time. And just like as he had said, it's tough you do balance work and life a lot. And going to grad school, it's not easy. It requires some sacrifice. In that time period, I got married. We right after I graduated had a baby, so there's a lot of things going on. And as long as you do, as what he had said before, is schedule your time. Also schedule time to have a little bit of free time. It's not a problem. They do a very, very good job at making sure that everything is scheduled. When everything's coming up. And it makes it a lot easier to balance your life, even working full time, which can be very difficult.
Right, and I definitely agree with you. On one thing that was really just stuck out to the program for me, specifically because it was online, is that during my course of undergrad, I was technically a student athlete. I was, managing the women's basketball team here at FAU, and that required me to have certain availability and flexibility in my schedule. So most of my undergrad classes were online. So the transition from doing online from most of undergrad to online now allowed me to have that type of, flexibility where I could do basketball as well as get my studies done on the road and things like that. So I think the program offers a lot of flexibility and the transition smooth as well. So question 3, this is open to anyone who wants to answer it. So can you share any obstacles that you've had to overcome while pursuing your degree? For example, taking time off, getting familiar with technology, feeling overwhelmed, or to get to the position you are now? How did you meet these challenges?
I can take that one. For me, during the 2 years while I was in the program, I had many breakdowns. When I started the program, my hair was like yours, Antonio. By the time I finished, I ended up like this. But no, I'm just kidding. To speak on a specific scenario, in 2018, I got promoted to accounting supervisor at my job, and I was overseeing the accounting activities of 5 accountants on my team, and I was reviewing over 100 financial statements each month. So it was a lot, and my son was also born in July. So I had to balance the life at work, also the life at home. I just know the plan that I had set forth when I started the program was not working. So I called Miss Just, Berlin the Just, and had to talk to her. Hey, look, I don't know what to do. I'm overwhelmed. I feel like I should be dropping this class and I could take it at a later time. She understood. She didn't tell me to do it nor not to do it. She saw where I was coming from, and basically we came up with a plan. Maybe what I was doing was not working. So let's go back to the drawing board and adjust that plan. So what I ended up doing was it was a lot of sleepless night, going to bed at 3 or 4 in the morning. It's making the sacrifice, to get the degree in that time frame. So it's good, but you also have to sacrifice, a lot. So that's my sacrifice at the time, was losing sleep in order for me to pass the class.
And then, anyone else would like to speak on that one? No? Okay, I'll answer one of the questions that one of our viewers has. They said that, how many classes per semester do you take in the master's program if you work full time? Honestly, I feel like to be considered 2 times, yeah. So in the summertime, to be considered full time, it's six credits, which equates to 2 classes. And then in the fall and spring, it's 9 credits, which equates to 3 classes. So yeah, and then recommendations on how you should do per semester, like a lot of our panelists are saying, it's really based upon the amount of effort that you would feel like you're going to put in, as well as the amount that you can take and you can put on yourself. So the program usually is it's a 2-year program that usually is an executive program. So they only want you to take one class per program, but if you feel confident in yourself and that you can take more than class, then go for it. I'm full-time right now, so I think if you have enough time to do it, I definitely say you should.
Antonio, and I would like to add to that. So I would say it's unique to everyone's situation. So if you guys are working and depends on your work schedule, on your busy seasons, like in public, like in tax, in our department, we get really busy from July to October. So I did end up taking more classes. I think it was one of the semesters, and I did have to go back to School of Accounting and ask for permission. And the School of Accounting was very, very helpful. They helped me to write the letter so I could take more classes in a particular time frame, so I could take less classes when it's our busy season. In my case, it's July till October. So I would say good planning is a key, and you can do it. We did it. You can do it. Just a good plan.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think.
Kiara, actually,
sorry, go ahead.
Kiara, I actually have a question for you. I don't know if you all of our viewers know, but in our executive master's program for taxation, tax classes are not required during the spring semester to accommodate for the busy tax season. So I just wanted to know, with you, getting your master's in taxation, how was that flexibility helpful for you?
Sorry,
Yes.
Anthony. Oh,
Was it
sorry.
Kiara or okay? I'm sorry.
I think he meant Kate.
Oh, Kate, there we go. Kate, all right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would say it depends. It really depends on department and on the size of the firm. So in our case, in my specific case, the busy season is really from July to October, since our clients are large, and most of them usually get extensions. But we do have a PCS department that works with smaller clients, so their busy season is really April 15 in tax. If you're on a smaller firm, it's a huge deadline. So I would say it really depends. And what helped me is, again, planning ahead and communicate to the School of Accounting, and you can accommodate your schedule. And I still graduated early, even though I had to take less classes in the fall at some point.
And Jensen, you were going to make a statement?
To go back to the scheduling thing, what I was going to say is the way that I took my classes, I took 2 classes each fall and spring semester. Then in the summer, I took 1 class. So that's how it worked for me. And I was able to do it in exactly 2 years. So 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1. And then it was 10 classes, and then I got done.
Right. And then Kiara, I have a question for you. Were there any other options you had in mind in terms of secondary education for your master's, and what made you make FAU stand out to you?
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Antonio, for that. So for me, definitely, I was considering other options. I was actually, when I heard about FAU, I was actually already doing my master's program at another school, St. Thomas University in Miami Gardens. And I was about 2 semesters into the program. And one night I was studying at a Starbucks, and my phone was actually running out of battery. And the individual that was sitting next to me heard my phone beeping, and she's like, "Oh, do you need a charger?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, thank you." And then, long story short, we ended up sharing what we were doing there, and she was actually studying also forensic accounting at FAU, and she explained to me how the program worked, and the whole aspect that you can do the classes either online or in person, and the flexibility around it. And it's immediately when she told me that, I was like, oh my God, this sounds amazing. Like I'm actually willing to let go of the school that I'm in now and transfer over, because I was at the time working 2 jobs, and it was just impossible for me to get to classes, and the school was far from my home. So the fact that, FAU's program offers you the flexibility to do either in-person classes or watch it live while it's streaming, or watch it later, when it's convenient to you, that stood out to me. So the next day I immediately school and was essentially already, that was around November. So in January, I was already part of the program at FAU. So I definitely had, for me, it was like, I didn't just consider other schools. I was literally already doing my program in another school, and I essentially had to start over when I joined FAU, which was completely fine.
That's an amazing story. I mean, it's really interesting hearing everyone's perspective and how their journey and how they ended up at FAU. For me, I said I was a transfer student. I used to go to an historically Black college and university, Hampton University, in Virginia, and I transferred to FAU. And I already knew I'm different from most people when we come out of high school. I had this mindset. I really want to do forensics accounting. I know exactly where I want to be at. Went to Hampton. I literally Googled top forensics accounting schools in the country. FAU came right on up. I said, okay, this is nice. I like the diversity. I like what the school and our campus life is about. And ultimately, I said, okay, I got to get to my undergrad for accounting, and then now I'm here. So I think everyone's journey is really neat. So I guess iPhone chargers are really helpful. All right. So then another question I had is, what activities did you do to be successful in your studies? Did you have a set hours for your schoolwork, and where did you do your schoolwork? I know a couple of people have made note that they stay in the office because it's a quiet environment. I think Daniel said that. Did anybody else have any study tips or anything like that?
For me, I mostly did the work at home. It was, well, before I had a child, it was, definitely easy. As I said, I had to set my own hours, and you also had to be disciplined and stick to it. It's not one of the programs that you can start and not have a plan. If, I'm sorry to say this, but you might fail. So you do need to have a plan. So I did sit down and basically set out those days that, okay, I will strictly focus on schoolwork. I don't care what else is going on. I will be doing schoolwork. So it was mostly in my house. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, it was strictly for schoolwork.
Mm-hmm. And then anybody else have any unique study tips that they implement?
Sure, Antonio.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You can go ahead.
No,
Okay.
This is about you.
Okay, thank you. For me, I work at UI. So when I started the program back in 2015, I had not started UI yet, but I was working 2 jobs. But then eventually, obviously, as I went into the firm, which I started my internship that same year in the summertime, it was really hard for me to be able to plan ahead in terms of my schedule, my work schedule, because as you probably all know, working in a public accounting firm, you really don't know what time you're going to leave the job. So but you do at least can plan, at least for me, I can plan what time I would arrive at the office. So sometimes I would get to the office even like 2 or 3 hours before my scheduled time, which was 9 a.m. I know that sounds crazy, but I would actually wake up really early and head to the office and try to do my work before starting. For me, at least, I need consistency to study. Obviously, I mean, that's probably for most people. So I needed to make sure to get those hours in before work, because after work, I just never knew what time I was going to leave. And even if I left at an early time, it was just, I was probably already brain dead, that I just needed a break from, thinking or studying or doing anything school related. So it helped for me to start doing work before I started, to start doing homework and reading and all that kind of stuff before I started my work on a day-to-day.
Definitely. And just like we talked earlier about, everyone having just unique things to implement in their study habits. Everyone learns differently, and I think once you transition from undergrad should really be your time to try to learn what kind of specific skills cater towards you as an individual, and see how you can implement that in your master's degree. For me, I'm completely different from most people. Whenever I'm writing an essay, it has to be noisy. I have to use the creativity around me to get the essay done. That's just how I am. It can't be too quiet, because I'm just gonna fall asleep. So I have to have something to keep me up. So just making sure you're implementing study habits to cater towards you. Jimson, I have another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What opportunities, activities, support services did FAU provide that helped you craft your path to success when you were earning your degree after you graduated? And did you have a mentor, or are you a mentor?
Great question, Antonio. Unfortunately for me, I didn't know anyone who had gone through the program. So I chose FAU based solely on the research that I did online and the reputation. I know FAU wasn't one of the schools that would just take your money and give you a piece of paper and say, hey, be on your merry way. During the 2 years I was enrolled, there were many opportunities, to attend career fair that the School of Accounting sponsored. There you could meet a lot of various companies and Florida government entities where you could network. So there are a lot of that, and I took opportunity of that. To answer the second part of your question, when I started the program, they did assign me a counselor, which was Berlin Just, and she was my go-to person anytime I had issues with my classes. But along the way, I met Denise Grovat, Dr. G. I call her Dr. G. She became my professional mentor without even knowing. On several occasions, I met with her. I spoke to her about my career goals, where I wanted to be. And thankfully, I'm actually in this position. It's because she introduced me to the director of audit in Palm Beach County at the time, and I ended up, getting this position. So there are many opportunities, once you attend FAU. And yes, the last question. I'm not a mentor, but I would be interested in becoming one. If the opportunity arises, if anyone wants to know, my challenges throughout the program, then I'll be more than happy to help.
Okay. So you'll be getting email from me after this, right?
Sounds great.
Okay. Okay. Christine, I have a question for you. All right. As a business owner, you have very important that how important networking is and promoting accounting and your valuation services. How did you build your network with your other classmates while studying online? And did you make any significant connections with your colleagues, professors, or alumni?
Sure. Hi, nice to see everyone. FAU was pretty groundbreaking for me in my career. I was originally supposed to go in the tax route, but then I realized that tax is not for me. We don't click well. And when I had learned about the forensics program and started hearing Dr. Liner speak and Dr. Crane, I said, this is exactly the route that I want to go to. Even before I had gotten on the forensics train, I'd realized early in my accounting career that forensics always came to me. So I knew that I had this knack for investigations and finding anomalies in financial statement fraud. So I knew that this was going to be a perfect fit. My network, I built it based upon who I really developed a good rapport with in my classes. So there were people that I wanted to make sure that I stayed in touch with because we had similar work styles, we were in similar lines of business, we were in similar niches, and we also just really clicked well on a personal level. There are some people who are very technical and those people are not for me, but there's also people that are very personable and that can relate to you on a different level that, someone else may not be able to bridge that gap. But studying online, it's interesting because I only met some of my classmates at graduation. Because you're doing this online, you're either speaking to people over the computer or on the phone, and usually on weekends or late at night. So when we saw each other at graduation, it was like a family reunion. It's lots of hard work and it finally came to fruition where you see each other running across the lawn and you just don't want to let go because you realize that without them, you probably wouldn't have made it.
I definitely agree with you. I'm making a lot of connections now, just interacting with some of my classes, the two classes that I've taken. Did you have any classes in particular that stuck out to you, the way the teacher instructing style worked? Dr. Liner, amazing.
Yeah, Dr. Liner still sticks in my head till this day because before I get on every Zoom, I'm always like, how's my hair? Is my hair It's super important. It's funny because it actually breaks the ice with people when I ask them, how's my hair? Because they're like, oh, it's great. And then all of a sudden you're a person behind the screen. You're no longer just a screen. But for sure, Dr. Liner made a huge impact on my career because his teaching style was teaching from his life experiences, and without that, it was really unrelatable because how many of us as accountants can say, we know about fraud, we know about how someone stole, why they stole, what their means were by stealing, their opportunities for stealing, how to, interview people, those aren't things that we encounter in our normal daily lives. If you're not susceptible to theft and stealing, you're not really going to understand how they're going to do it. So having Dr. Liner provide his real life experiences, again, bridged the gap as an accountant that now made it reachable and attainable and understandable.
Definitely agree with you. Kate, do you have any professors that stood out to you or anything like that? Any moments that networking was it crucial to you obtaining your degree? You're muted.
I would add to, thank you. I would just add to Kristen's point that I did like that opportunity that you could go in class and on Saturday sometimes when you chose to. And I did go actually like at least once a month just to network with my peers who did come in class, and then the School of Accounting professors as well. And what I really liked is also that most of the professors, if not all, came from industry, and they did share also their real life experiences, and it was easier to learn. It was more interactive in that way rather than just go to the PowerPoints, what's in the book. So that's something I really liked. Also, what I liked about the program was that in tax, the entire program, because I did consider also other schools, and since I graduated from FIU, it was really, it would have been a really easy transition to FIU master's degree, but I decided to go to FAU because I like the curriculum more. It was all, the entire program it was all like tax classes, and one of the classes was tax research. And I think it was very helpful for me down the road because we did learn different tools, how to research, and we got the basics. So when you get on a job, you at least know what tools are out there. So that's like my favorite part. And networking is very important. I can't stress enough, again, network with your colleagues, network with your professors. Very, very important from the very beginning of the program.
Definitely. One of my really good friends, Al Campbell, he says a lot. He says, your network is your net worth, and I definitely agree with that 100%. All right, so I have a few forensics questions for any of our forensics accountants out there. All right. So, what are your favorite and least favorite forms of fraud you find intriguing to investigate? And we already answered this one, but what class/professor helped you prepare to become a fraud fighter?
I can take that on first if you want.
Okay.
Okay.
Go for it. Go for it.
Great. So I have, as you all know, I work for EY, and I've been working for them for the past 5 years, and my time there has always been in the forensics group. And I have had the pleasure and the opportunity to, touch on several different areas of forensics in general. And I want to say that my favorite one is definitely the ones that are the fraud investigation. The financial statement restatements, which are essentially the fraud is so large that the client has to restate their financials, especially if it's a publicly traded company. And those actually don't come around too often, at least in our firm, because people are now getting smarter and, they're being more careful. And if they are committing the frauds, they're, smarter in how they're hiding it or concealing it, or they're just not doing it because there's a lot more awareness now in the market that, you should not be doing fraud. However, when they do come around, they're extremely interested. I mean, you're literally you think you're in school because you think you're reading a textbook because the cases are so insane that you never really thought that things like this could actually happen. It's things that you hear, on a TV show or on a movie or, like I said, on a textbook, and they're just insanely interesting. And sometimes you just think, like, how can a person be this bold to go ahead and do this fraud and just think that they're never going to get caught? And it's just honestly really interesting. And then, of course, you do use your hats of being the accountant and also being the investigator. So it's just like you blend both worlds because you don't always, there's a misconception that as a forensic accountant, you're always going to be doing, accounting work. But at least for me, it hasn't been that. Like some of our projects are definitely, there's a lot of accounting in them, but some are not really accounting related. It's just more, you are going to touch base on a few of like the general debit credits, but it's not that much accounting as you would think. And in terms of like my least favorite, I actually did a project on anti-money laundering, and it definitely sounds very interesting, but for me, it was just not one of my favorite things to do because I felt like I was a robot. We were just, there's a big world of anti-money laundering, and the specific area that I was in, we were just helping our bank, which was the client at the time, we were helping them monitor certain transactions, and it was just, I felt like a robot in a way. It was kind of like checking boxes. Oh, does this, is this fine? Is this not fine? Type of thing. So I felt like I wasn't really using my thinking skills to like get through it. But definitely, as I said,
really critically thinking.
Yeah. Exactly. And but there's like I said, anti-money laundering is a huge realm, that it's actually a separate area in our firm. So it's just, there's a lot to do in that field. It's just for me, specifically what I worked on, I would have rather to do more actual thinking. But that's a little bit of what I like and don't like.
Oh, okay.
I'll tackle that question as well if you want.
Okay.
So I left my corporate job. I've been in corporate my entire career, and as of 3 years ago, I left because bookkeeper fraud tickled me, and I just had to go and find more of it. So when I realized my talents were better suited to the small business owner rather than corporate America, because small businesses grow the economy, large business does not, right? So it was important for me to make sure that the dollars stayed in the business owner's pocket and not in someone else's pocket. So when I first did my first bookkeeper fraud investigation, I was blown away that someone could be trusted so much that they were able to take almost $500,000 from their employer over 10 years. You know, and I said, wow, it took creativity, it took thinking outside of the box, you know, and then I realized that this fraud is so prevalent in South Florida. I want to be able to expose and provide my talents to other small business owners so that they can mitigate their risks and not be defrauded by bookkeepers, because bookkeepers are trusted and trust will steal them blind every single time. So I can't say that I have a least type of favorite fraud, because a least favorite fraud, because I would say fraud in general really makes you think, and it makes you investigate, and it awakens these senses in you that, you know, it's like a puzzle, and you have to be able to start it from the beginning to finish it all the way through. So, I mean, being a fraud fighter has definitely honed my skills, increased my skill set, and you know, I probably have been able to save millions of dollars just in 4 zip codes by a habitual bookkeeper stealing from small businesses over and over and over.
Anthony, I'm sorry, Antonio. I also want to answer that question as well. What I was going to say is I really enjoyed all my classes at FAU. All the professors were very knowledgeable, but the 2 classes that really stood out to me was writing and forensic accounting and interviewing, mainly because I use them in almost my day-to-day activities. If you were doing an investigation, of course, you have to interview them. So Dr. Linus' class, interviewing, you know, that was a really great class, as well as writing and forensic accounting. After your investigation is done, you have to write the report. So that really helped me into writing, you know, very concisely. As far as my favorite and the least favorite, the way our office works, we take all type of complaints. You know, our complaints could range between a city official misusing his city assigned credit card for personal use, which could be a city policy, as well as a criminal implication, which was a real case that I worked on. Another complaint could range between a city official misusing his city assigned car, which could be just a city policy violation. That could be administrative. So for me, anything that has a financial aspect to it, I love it, because I do have experience, you know, as an accountant, and I love anything with numbers.
All right. Thank you all for giving your insight as to like your favorite fields of forensic accounting to study. For me personally, I'm not in the field yet, but during Dr. Leonard's class, we've had to, you know, investigate and look at a lot of different cases. And one of my individual essays I had the opportunity of investigating and writing about was healthcare fraud, specifically the NFL case with, you know, Clinton Portis and things like that. So just finding out and determining why he did what he did and his accomplices, you know, all of them melding together and analyzing and stuff like that, that all spoke out to me. Daniel, I actually have a question for you.
And the great thing is, you know, with Dr. Linus' class, you get to be an investigator almost every week. You know, he's got those real life cases, and each weekend you try to solve it, and then he comes back the next week and tells us all about it. So his classes are very interesting.
Literally, yes, I agree with you 100%. Daniel, I have a question for you. We talked earlier about, you know, different skills that expert accountants have to have. In order for you to become a partner, what other skills do you feel like are necessary for an accountant to have, just in general?
So first, everyone say hi to my daughter. It's 2020, so sometimes this happens. So one of the main things when in any field, you sometimes hit a glass ceiling if you don't know how to sell or network and bring in business. I mean, that's just the way it is. With any company, you need to generate revenue. And the way you do that is through your network and doing sales. So one of the things that I luckily had come from a sales background, and my network was very vast. So when I was able to get into business valuation, it was a very easy transition for me to move up very quickly because I was able to start bringing in new business, showing that I could act as a partner or a director or, in those upper levels, not just an analyst. So it's one of those things that's extremely important to understand, how to develop your network, keep in touch with people. There was a lot of people that I reached out to from undergrad, from even graduate school that helped expand my network. So that is extremely important in my opinion.
Definitely. I believe having a diverse, range of, skill sets is drastically important. For me, for example, one of which the reasons why I found, being on this platform, be able to speak to you all today is, social media. I had a graduation video on Twitter. My photographer helped come up with it when I graduated. And Kelly, the assistant of the dean for the School of Business, she found my video and DM'd me and said, "Hello, we're doing this webinar with alumni, and we really feel like you would be a good person for the position." So I think, having that skill set of not only being able to communicate face to face, but, showing, being able to have like a diverse array of skills is drastically important because, you're going to be going to talk to different individuals, and, having those different skills is going to ultimately make you more marketable. I definitely agree with that. We actually have a question. Oh, what you think?
One more point to make too is, especially within my class, we did a lot of group assignments, and there's a lot of times I would be in groups with someone in Pennsylvania. One time I remember I had someone who was in Dubai, and these are people that are going into your field and they have huge networks. And so when you're in these groups and you are interacting with your fellow classmates, it's important to establish those relationships, because before you know it, you don't know, they're in a position that could potentially help you and vice versa. So it's always important to make sure that not only are you willing to help your fellow classmates by introducing them to someone that it could help, but people like helping each other, especially people they know. So that's really where this really helps.
Definitely agree with you. The classes that, especially with Dr. Liner's class, you have an opportunity to, what he does is splits the class in half. It's a little experience that you're not going to get from any other institution. He splits the class in half. One half of the class is examiners, and the other class is the fraudsters committing the fraud. And you're going back, like Jensen said, week by week and interviewing each other. And in these given roles, you have a leader for each group. And fortunately, I was the leader for the fraud examination group. And sometimes, I never really considered myself much of a leader, but, the classes allowed me to, kind of bring that leadership aspect out of me and bring out skills that you potentially thought you never really had, and, sharpen those tools that you've had already. We actually have a question.
Sorry. Yeah, what I was going to add to what you said, it's really important to network. Like you just said, he splits the class, into two groups. When you're in those groups, speak to your teammates, talk to them. And eventually when you both graduate, you guys stay in contact if you can. One example is one lady who graduated before me. She went ahead and started her own company after we both graduated. And I know she's reached out to me on several occasions about, hiring me to come work for her. So it's really important, to network, while you're in the program.
Definitely. I agree with you 100%. We actually have a question from one of our viewers. They said, what advice could you give to students at FAU in regards to in-state job fairs and networking? I guess I can give a little bit of advice. So in terms of networking, with job fairs nowadays, there's not a lot of, with everything going on in the world, there's not really many in person. But FAU has a lot of online opportunities available. So using Handshake is what FAU students have access to, where they can log on, have opportunity for job opportunities, as well as you can log into different events that FAU has to offer. And it literally, you are doing online job fairs and, basically doing what we're doing now, but with, potential employers. So I think Handshake through FAU is a wonderful opportunity for that.
I can add on to that too, if you don't mind. So one of the ways that I was able to really excel in my career was the fact that so my wife was in medical school when I was doing this master's, and the way it works is when you match, you move. It doesn't matter where it is, you're going. So we found out in March that we were moving to Orlando, and we moved in July, which is a smaller market versus Fort Lauderdale where we were. And what I did was I reached out to Dr. Crane, who's an expert in the field. I mean, he's published on all the major evaluation books and things like that. And he was one of the main professors. And by speaking with him and saying, hey, listen, do you know anyone up there? He made multiple contacts for me. And eventually, through networking through those people, I landed a fantastic job. So when it comes down to networking, like I said, with meeting the people in your groups, the most important way to really get a job is by knowing someone who works in those companies. So if, say, someone in your group knows someone or anything like that, that can just pass your resume along, that's going to be more invaluable than, say, going to a job fair and walking around. Any job that I've ever gotten, especially good ones, was by knowing someone, networking through my company, or, like when I was at Citrix to move to different departments, it was networking through people I knew, getting introduced, that kind of stuff. So you can always set up Skype meetings or Zoom meetings these days, even if they're, people from all around the country. It's establishing the relationship and cultivating it. And those are the people that will help you get into great jobs. Like, you've got people on here that are at PwC and some very, very, very good companies and great places. If you ever need someone, a recommendation, or me to pass something on, look me up on LinkedIn. I'm happy to do these things. And, people in your class will be doing the same thing. We all want to help each other. It's tough out here. The real world isn't always that much fun. So we got to do what we can to get by.
Right.
I'm going to say LinkedIn. I mean, I did respond and I said that LinkedIn is invaluable. And one tip that I would give is, one of my pet peeves is when you send a connection request, make it a personalized message. Don't send a connection request just because. Put a little bio together saying, oh, we both studied at FAU, or we both know someone who studied at FAU, or you have to make it, you have to make the person on the other side understand why they should connect with you. Provide a resource, explain something that's going on, use all the resources available on LinkedIn, join forums, get on Meetup. There's Facebook groups for all kinds of everything. If you specialize in something or you have a niche in something else, there's a home for everybody. There's groups and resources available at the college. You just have to reach out, because nobody's going to come to you. You have to be able to take the initiative to go out there and do part of the job yourself.
Yes. Thank you, everybody, for your insight. I love to hear it. All right. So the next question I have for you all is, I don't know if our viewers know, but once granted opportunity into the executive education program, you have a chance to become a student member of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. I wanted to know if any of our participants or panelists have had the opportunity of utilizing that tool.
Of course, I'm still a member. I was a member throughout the 2 years I was in the program. My goal was to study the CFE examination after I graduated. I'm still on track to take the test this year, so I'm hoping I get my certification by the end of the year. That's the goal.
Antonio, I can also speak to that. So I definitely I became a member when I was a student at FAU, and of course I'm still a member now. I did my exam about 3 years ago. It's extremely amazing, actually, because it's not a typical test that you're just, oh, let me just read on this and just learn about it. This is actually, if you're a forensic accountant student, obviously you have an interest for the field and you enjoy learning about it. And every single part of the exam, there's 4 parts of the exam, it's extremely interesting. You learn the terms, you learn the theory behind each term, and the way you study for it, they actually tell you, the ACFE tells you to study by doing the multiple choice questions. You're not reading a textbook. When you purchase the program to study, you just go online and you answer, there's like around 400 questions, and you just answer the questions and they'll tell you when it's wrong, when it's right. And then obviously they'll give you the reason and the definition or explanation that's needed. And then once you're ready for the exam, you just take them. When you start the first one, you have 30 days to complete all 4. But they're easy. They're not tricky questions. They're not meant to, for you to answer the question because you get confused and you answer it wrong. It's very straightforward in my opinion, and it's interesting to learn. So definitely highly encourage everyone, if you're interested in doing that certification. It's a very valuable certification to have, and being a member of the ACFE is also, it gives you basically, you're part of that community as well. So you get insights, you get emails about conferences and things like that. So it's definitely valuable to have.
I actually just signed up for the membership a few weeks ago. So everyone just take advantage of that. I believe it's like $25 if you're a student. So definitely take advantage of that versus the $189 if you're not a student. So huge difference.
For sure. I'm a credentialed CFE. I got my credentials in 2017. I did the self-study course at first, but then I realized that this is way too much information and for information overload, and I was not disciplined enough because I had just graduated at the time and I was not planning on sitting down and studying more and to be able to pass 4 more tests. So what I did was I took the in-person 5-day course in New York, and at the end of every day, they give you the exam on that part and you pass or fail right then and there on that specific course. So that's how I got my CFE designation. And then since then, I've gone to the CFE conferences held every year. So in the United States, they hold it 1 year on the East Coast and 1 year on the West Coast. I've actually gone to Singapore and I've done I've attended the UAE conference, the Indonesia conference. I wanted to go to the one that was in Switzerland. But I mean, they are incredible, and even more resources available, everything from jobs to continuing education to books and resources that they also provide, and a lot of them are free or low cost.
Awesome.
So I just encourage everyone viewing today to just take your chance and just utilize your resources in terms of that offer that FAU has. Since we are talking about certifications, Kate, I have a question for you. How important was earning your CPA to you? How supportive was your firm while you were preparing while taking the exam?
Yeah, so I would say CPA license is very important. It's not, at least in our firm, it's not mandatory till you make a manager. So it takes 4, 5, 6 years at least. But my advice would be get it done as soon as possible and get it done early. So I was actually able to do it before I started with PwC full time. I did have to take like 2 months off to get it done, but I know as the longer you stay with a firm, the busier your schedule gets, and then life happens, and it's very difficult to get the exams done. As far as the firm, in our firm, you do get a very nice bonus if you pass all 4 parts within the first 1 year. Also, the firm would pay for 1 round of exams because it's 4 exams, and they would give you access to backer if you have a full-time offer or you already started full-time. And I know backer, I think it's around 2,000 plus for the books. So that's a great help there. But again, try to get it done as early as possible. If you're planning to stay in this career, tax or audit, you most likely you will need it, and it's a nice add-on to have on your resume. And I'll take actual opportunity. There is a question from Brian Benitez from the audience. for
Mm-hmm.
Djemson. So somebody, he says that he's in criminal justice background and he's interested in pursuing forensic accountant. As an investigator, how much time do you spend on the field as opposed to the office? Is that 50?
I think it really depends. It really depends on the case that you're working on. If you're working on a case that's really records heavy, of course, you would be spending the time in the office going through the records. As for me, my experience in the past year, it's been maybe 60-40, because once I started, I was assigned to many different cases, to learn as much as I can. So anytime the lead investigator would go on an interview, I was there with him or her. But once you go back in the office, you have to type your memorandum of interviews. And of course, once that investigation is complete, then you have to stay in the office to write the report. So from my experience, it's really about 60-40.
Okay. All right. So this question is about culture and within the company. Anyone can answer this one. How significant is it to you that your firm or company values diversity and inclusion in the workplace?
I can take that on, Antonio. Oh.
Go ahead.
So sorry, I'll speak on the perspective of obviously of EY. They're extremely they're super aware and super in tune with diversity in the workplace, and there's so many different organizations that we have within the firm to promote that and to make sure that we are having conversations and are feeling that we are being included. And I say we because I'm Hispanic, so there's definitely the different groups of organizations, but I'm part of the Hispanic one. There's also the Black professional networks, the Asian professional network, even women's professional networks. And it's just amazing how, and it's great to know that your firm that you're working with and that basically you're representing is also backing you up in the sense that you are being heard. If you have any concerns that you're feeling left out, or you're feeling like certain things aren't being done how you think it should be done, they definitely give you the platform for you to express yourself. And there's also, the firm is diverse in the sense that there's a ton of us that come from many different places in the world, and just the firm itself it's situated in all over the world basically. So you don't feel alone, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And the firm definitely backs you up and allows you to essentially, expand yourself and just make sure that you have what you need to succeed in your career.
Go ahead.
You're on. You're on.
What I was going to say, to add to that a little bit, when a company values diversity and inclusion, it tells me that the company cares about my idea. It cares about what I think. It cares about what I have to bring to the table. It's not just their ways. There is more than one way to do something, and we all know having people from different backgrounds, can lead to more ideas, and in turn can make the company more beneficial. So that's, to me, diversity is one of the main things I look for when I start looking at other companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just like to add, I would just like to add to Kiara's point in POC. We also have a lot of different groups, and I'm on a Women's Inclusion Network, and our firm definitely supports all-inclusive environment as well. So it's a very similar approach.
Mm-hmm. I definitely, me coming from, I'm a military brat. I've been raised all around the world. I've lived from Germany, California, Texas, and just growing up within diversity and being around so many different types of people is just, to me, it's important. And having a company that represents something similar to my living environment growing up is similarly important to me. So I just want to, whenever anyone's looking for any company, I think that that's something important, that you should just look to a company that represents not only the aspect of professionalism that you want to strive for, but something that represents, you see something that in the company that you see within yourself. All right. So I think that was our last question for the day. And I believe we're going to wrap things up. Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, I saw that Jasenia posted in the chat, and I just wanted to respond from my perspective. So she's asked if anyone holds a CPA certificate and regular forensics versus data analytics program, which would you recommend? from my perspective, I was always told you have to be a CPA to be an accountant. You have to have a CPA to be an accountant, and that's a misnomer. So I don't deal with anything that has to do with tax related, auditing, presenting reports on financials. I don't do any of that. I deal with accounting, financial statement work for small business. And if I need the help of a CPA, I align myself with others who do that specialty. I specialize in construction and property management. So if people have a construction fraud, they'll come to me, or vice versa. If there's a CPA that doesn't really specialize in job cost accounting or construction, they'll come to me and they'll ask for my advice. So what I would say is you need to pick the track of study that's going to best suit you and what you're going to use it for. And as far as the forensics program versus the data analytics, again, that's something that you have to pick within yourself, because even though the climate is migrating more towards online and digital fraud, is that something you're going to be happy with? Is that something you understand? Is that something that you could see yourself doing in 10 years? Or, what's your contribution going to be to the data analytics society? So I would say it's a personal choice. You have to go and investigate the field that you want to go into and make sure it's the right fit for you.
Definitely. All right. So I think that is everything. Kelly, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank everyone, our panelists, for sharing your experiences and your time with FAU today. Antonio, thank you so much for agreeing and doing such a fabulous job moderating. I think the conversation really highlighted some of the unique qualities of the program. So thank you. And until next time, I will follow up. This was recorded, so I will make that recording available to everyone. And if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me so that I can provide more information about the program. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
All right.
Thank
you
you
all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.